Okay. Thank you so much for your attendance. All right, so let's get right down to it. Contemplation meditation. It's visual as opposed to internal auditory. And we're just at a point where Rabbi Kaplan's talking about you can combine them both, which is very powerful. So as you know, combining the both means combining visual meditation with mantra meditation. And he talks a lot about Rabboni Shalom as being a mantra to use, because if you have even a modicum of Jewish education, you understand that's referring to the master of the universe. And saying that to yourself will raise your, he would say, God consciousness, which is very interesting. Okay, so Rabboni Shalom. The most universal Jewish mantra is the expression Rabboni Shalom, master of the universe. This mantra does not negate physical reality, but focuses our attention on the physical universe and makes us aware of its master. Thus, this mantra is an excellent way of relating the visible world to its creator. So intuitively, subconsciously, you are placing HaKadosh Baruch Hu in context as the ruler of the world you're in. Now, there is a vast difference between the English concept of universe and the Hebrew concept. In English, the word universe comes from the Latin unus, meaning one, and versum, meaning to turn. Hence, universe denotes that which is turned into one, or that which is combined into an integral whole. That's what it means. Thus, in the secular sense, the universe is seen as the main unifying factor in creation. So the universe, it's what's supposed to unify everything. So it's almost as if the universe is not, from the English point of view, from the secular point of view, the universe, it's what's uniting all the physical things. But the Hebrew word for universe, on the other hand, is olam, which is derived from the root Allah, meaning to conceal. Therefore, in a Hebrew sense, the universe is seen as that which conceals the divine. Thus, when one says Rabboni Shalom, denoting master of the universe, one is saying that concealed behind the universe, there is a master. Thus, in repeating this mantra, one is making oneself aware of the hidden reality behind the visible one. So if you take that principle and you're saying it to yourself, if you define Rabboni Shalom as referring to he who is hidden from the universe, but which is uniting the universe, then you are intuitively connecting to God, so to speak. You're raising your God consciousness. This is how he says we operate. This is how he places a huge emphasis on our subconscious internal understanding of things and letting that subconscious operate, and in doing so raises our consciousness. When a person uses the mantra Rabboni Shalom together with contemplation on a physical object, he can actually begin to see the divine hidden in the object. Again, I'm making an asterisk here. I don't quite get that yet. He can make the object of contemplation into a link between God and himself. The object becomes a channel through which he can experience the divine. Again, although any physical object can be used as the focus of meditation, several are mentioned in Judaic literature, especially in the Kabbalah. Each of these has an important significance in its own right. For instance, the Zohar mentions contemplating the stars. The Zohar provides a biblical source for this type of meditation from the verse in Isaiah, lift your eyes on high and see who created these, the one who brings out their hosts by number. He calls them all by name. The verse is seen by the Zohar as prescribing a contemplation meditation with the stars as the object. So this is really interesting. So he's basically saying his understanding of the Zohar is that the prophet Isaiah did contemplation meditation, meaning that he focused on the stars. Now, I have always found that to be confusing. I mean, the stars in general, all those stars, you're picking one star? I'm not sure how that works, but the point is he's using stars as the focus of contemplation, and I can see why, because they make us appreciate, they raise in us feelings of grandeur and awe. And if you want to be able to intuit the presence of Hakadosh Baruch Hu behind everything, then generating that feeling of awe and grandeur is going to help you do that. So I could see why the stars would be a good object of contemplation. I'm not familiar with how to do it. Wow, okay. The Zohar notes that in this verse by Isaiah, there are two key Hebrew words, me, meaning who, and ele, meaning these. Again, lift your eyes on high and see who created these. Who created these, the stars? Who meaning God. When these two words are combined, the Hebrew letters, capital spell Elohim, the Hebrew name for God. Thus, when one looks at these things in the ordinary mundane world and asks who is the author and basis of these things, one finds God. So he's almost saying, you're asking yourself intuitively a quiz. You're saying that phrase to yourself, or you're learning that phrase, and you're saying what can be derived, what hidden message can be derived from that phrase, who created these, there you are, God, gotcha. It's like, where's Waldo, where's God type of thing. The Zohar presents this in the context of the stars, but it is true of any object of contemplation. People often gaze at the stars and feel a sense of awe and smallness in the face of the infinite. But if one does it as a specific meditation, contemplating the stars and removing all other thought from the mind, the sense of awe and the feeling of God's presence in creation are greatly enhanced. Right, that's how I understand it. That is a benefit of appreciating awesome nature, and the heavens with the stars are certainly awesome. You'd get this feeling of awe, and these are feelings you want to be able to enrich and build upon when you want to contemplate God. One's focus goes beyond the stars, seeking what is beyond them, the who behind these, and one becomes aware of the creator. So as a side note, getting back to what has been said about Abraham the patriarch, we hold him as a prime meditator, as somebody who deduced, who figured out that there's a creator and master of the universe behind everything. It's not the sun, it's not the moon, there's a prime mover behind those. And that led him to look within and explore within, and that's how we started talking to God, and that's how we get Lech Lecha and the biblical conversation. So the reason why I'm bringing that up is that it seems to me that what enhanced Avraham Avinu's realization, one thing that led him to the realization was his contemplation of this physical universe and being able to feel this awe, and him realizing, wait, I'm feeling this awe for what's behind the scenes. I'm not really feeling the awe about the sun. Yeah, the sun is really something, or the moon. I'm feeling this awe, and I could see how that would help him look behind the scenes and say, what is awesome behind everything else? so I can see how this type of contemplation gives you a state of mind that leads to your appreciation of God. A beginner may find it difficult to contemplate the stars in this manner without becoming overwhelmed by extraneous thoughts. Therefore, a mantra such as Ribbono Shel Olam can be extremely useful. As it were, one is looking at the stars as concealing a greater and deeper truth, and the mind and soul probe and search to penetrate this mystery. When saying Ribbono Shel Olam, Lord of the universe, one is, as it were, calling to God in the depths of the heavens, seeking to find him beyond the stars, beyond the very limits of time and space. This can bring a person to an overwhelmingly deep spiritual experience. So this is how he's tying together the two. So you are in this, you are contemplating the stars and this awesome universe, and you're repeating, so that's the visual contemplation, and you're repeating the mantra, Ribbono Shel Olam, Ribbono Shel Olam, Ribbono Shel Olam, Ribbono Shel Olam, and letting it sink into your subconscious, and you're inside, internally, you're recognizing that what you're saying when you're saying Ribbono Shel Olam is you're trying to recognize the hidden unifier behind everything, and you're looking at everything, so you put the two together and you're kind of realizing, you're becoming aware of God, so to speak, behind everything, this great and magical creation. And I would venture to say that if you were in front of Niagara Falls or the Grand Canyon, or Tillamook, or someplace that's really majestic, you could get kind of close. But also in the desert, you got great skies. So anytime you're in front of like an awesome natural scene, and you start just taking it in and repeat visually, and then repeating the mantra internally, this is one way you elevate what he says, the God consciousness, and like, whoa, there you are, woo, that kind of thing. I think that's what he's shooting for. There are other ways in which a mantra-like device can be combined with contemplation. Thus, for example, one may contemplate a flower and wish to gain a greater awareness of its beauty. Contemplation itself, of course, will greatly enhance awareness, but a beginner may find it difficult to maintain concentration. Hence, the contemplation can be combined with an exercise in which one repeats the word beauty over and over while looking at the flower. This serves to amplify one's sensitivity and sense of beauty so that the flower will actually appear to radiate beauty. The result can be an extremely powerful aesthetic experience. If one then realizes what the source of the beauty is, the divine in the flower, then this beauty can also become a link with the divine. Again, I'm not quite sure what that is, but notice what he's saying. He's going for a twofold modality here of visualizing something that is inherently has enhanced qualities, extra special qualities, and saying something which help you appreciate it. If you're looking at the span of the universe, Ribbono Shel Olam will fit because you're trying to take the whole universe in, the whole sky full of stars. And when you're saying Ribbono Shel Olam, will intuitively cue you to appreciate the unifying force behind all the stars. But what he's saying with the flower has an aesthetic appeal of being beautiful. So you say beauty, and you're programming yourself to appreciate the beauty. So what would you, if you were in front of Niagara Falls, you would come up with a word of whatever you come up with, or in front of the Grand Canyon, you come up with a word that you would program with yourself and help yourself really appreciate it. So that's the technique he's talking about. It's very, very interesting. Similarly, here's another example. Similarly, one can gaze at one's hand and repeat the word strength over and over. When one does this, one can become uniquely aware of the strength in one's own hand. It is true that strength is normally an abstract quality which one can be aware of but cannot see. However, in a meditative state, the strength of one's hand becomes not merely something of which one is aware in an abstract sense, but something that one can actually see. It is impossible to describe what strength looks like, but it actually becomes visible. This is very much like a synesthesia experience discussed earlier, in which one can see unseeable things such as sounds or fragrances. Here, one can see abstract concept as well. All right, I'm not exactly seeing strength. Haven't had that done myself. Feeling strength. Yep. Okay, so maybe that's close. Obviously, he has done some very advanced meditation and has reached some states of mind that are very advanced. And his experiences have been very high. Another type of contemplation mentioned in the Zohar involves a candle or oil lamp. Many meditative systems make use of a candle, but Judaic sources indicate a preference for a small lamp using olive oil and a linen wick. This would be like the great menorah candelabrum that stood in the Jerusalem temple, which may have also been used as the object of contemplation. How do you like that? So you know, there was a menorah, candelabra, in the great temple, and it had oil and a linen wick in it. And as an aside, that kind of is said to be the preference for a Hanukkah menorah, to take the oil with a linen wick, because it's most like what the menorah was in the temple. And Rabbi Kaplan says, besides its other functions, he thinks it was used as a meditative object. The light in the menorah. Olive oil has a particularly pure white flame that draws the gazer into its depths. Of course, if such a lamp is not available, a candle may be used, since the main thing is the flame. Zoharic literature teaches that in contemplating a flame, one should be aware of its 5 colors: white, yellow, red, black, and sky blue. These are the colors that one should see when deeply contemplating the flame of a candle or oil lamp. This is not something which maybe I see a tiny little bit of. I don't know about this, but I'm not familiar with it. But actually what we're going to do is, I want to get into the refresher. So we're going to finish up this section next week and start talking about contemplating on flames and trying to detect the auras. He actually talks about seeing auras here, and how you can train yourself to see the auras of a flame and then be able to see the auras of people, if you've heard of that such skill of people seeing auras. Rabbi Kaplan is really something. Okay. Very interesting stuff. All right, so before we meditate, I want to go over the refresher. Okay, here's your what to do here, how to do it. As a review, and again, this is something that I put together based on what Fury says, based on what Bhante says, and I'm sure it's nothing new. It's very simple. There's probably 1 million people on the planet doing it right now. But it really, really works for emotional reset. You're refreshing yourself emotionally. So I'm going to review what you have to do. So first of all, you're standing. You're standing structured yet relaxed. Okay, just like when we meditate in this class, you're sitting in a structured and relaxed way. Here you're standing, you're structured. You're not like a palace guard. You're structured and relaxed. Okay. Hands, forget them. Forget your hands. Your hands and your arms are just by your side. It's not like you're going like this. You don't need your hands. Just let them drop and relax. The feet are shoulder width, not foot after foot. Your feet are shoulder width. If you were walking forward the normal way, your feet would be about shoulder width. You wouldn't be walking foot in front of foot. So feet are shoulder width. Shoes are okay. It's better to do it barefoot or in socks. The only reason why is because your focus is on your feet. And the more you can feel your feet, the better you'll be able to focus on the feet. And you can feel your feet better without shoes on. Whatever floats your boat, whatever you're walking on, but it's better to do it barefoot. Obviously, if you're walking on a cold linoleum floor, okay. But yet you're focusing on your feet, and you're focusing on going backwards, toe to heel, and then the next foot, toe to heel. So then this eliminates wearing certain kinds of footwear. You're not going to wear slippers. They're like floppy slippers because you're too worried about, the flop. You can't, you have to be able to let your feet normally hit the ground and again and again. The flip flop is not the point here. The slipper, it's got to be a shoe that moves with your foot. So very slowly, so that it's like it takes more than a second to do one foot. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. You're going slowly backwards. 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi. That's what you're doing. And you avoid counting to yourself because you want to focus on your feet and on your foot on the ground, on your foot on the ground. And eyes closed if it works. That's a good enhancement because it helps you focus. It helps you focus. And helps you pay attention to what's happening in your body. That's what you do. And it's got to be backwards and it's got to be slow. And if you find yourself losing balance or something, you're not, one thing you're doing is you might be going too fast. Another thing you might be doing is not really walking normally. When I say normally, when you walk forwards, you don't fall. So when you walk backwards, you shouldn't fall either. You're just reversing what you do going forwards. You're trying to be maybe too deliberate in your stepping and you're throwing yourself off. Let's just go toe to heel, toe to heel, toe to heel. Instead of heel to toe, heel to toe, heel to toe going forwards, it's toe to heel, toe to heel, toe to heel going backwards. That's all. And so you shouldn't lose your balance. You just have to do it slow, and you will feel your body and your emotions shift. It really impacts you. It really has a great impact. And it's a very good way to adjust a few minutes, shake off harriness or like being all rushed and, or upset, stunned. It's a good way to get rid of that. So that's why I call it a refresher. Feel free to ask any other questions as we go, but that is something I recommend and do it as needed. The refresher. All right, so now let's talk to Bhante and about mindfulness. Characteristics of mindfulness. Okay, mindfulness is non-conceptual awareness. Another English term is bare attention. It is not thinking. It does not get involved with thought or concepts. It does not get hung up on ideas or opinions or memories. It just looks. Mindfulness registers experiences, but it does not compare them. It does not label them or categorize them. It just observes everything as if it was occurring for the first time, non-judgmental. It is not analysis that is based on reflection and memory. It is rather the direct and immediate experiencing of whatever is happening without the medium of thought. It comes before thought in the perceptual process. And the more you meditate, the more we meditate, the more you'll see that. Mindfulness is present moment awareness. It takes place in the here and now. It is the observance of what is happening right now, in the present. It stays forever in the present, perpetually on the crest of the ongoing wave of passing time. If you are remembering your second grade teacher, that is memory. When you then become aware that you are remembering your second grade teacher, that is mindfulness. If you then conceptualize the process and say to yourself, oh, I am remembering, that is thinking. Mindfulness is non-egotistic alertness. It takes place without reference to self. With mindfulness, one sees all phenomena without references to concepts like me or my or mine. For example, suppose there is a pain in your left leg. Ordinary consciousness would say, I have a pain. Using mindfulness, one would simply note the sensation as a sensation. One would not tack on that extra concept of I. Mindfulness stops one from adding anything to perception or subtracting anything from it. One does not enhance anything. One does not emphasize anything. One just observes exactly what is there without distortion. Mindfulness is awareness of change. It is observing the passing flow of experience. It is watching things as they are changing. It is seeing the birth, growth, and maturity of all phenomena. It is watching phenomena decay and die. Mindfulness is watching things moment by moment, continuously. It is observing all phenomena, physical, mental, or emotional, whatever is presently taking place in the minds. That's so key. So you could be mindful and like, oh, now I'm thinking about my scratch. Oh, now I'm thinking about pizza. And oh, now I'm thinking about tomorrow. Now, whatever the source of the content in your mind, as he says, physical, mental, or emotional, you're just mindful of it. One just sits back and watches the show. Mindfulness is the observance of the basic nature of each passing phenomenon. It is watching the thing arising and passing away. It is seeing how that thing makes us feel and how we react to it. It is observing how it affects others. In mindfulness, one is an unbiased observer whose sole job is to keep track of the constantly passing show of the universe within. Ah, that thought makes me mad. But you don't care. Ah, that thought makes me hungry. Ah, that thought makes me wishful. Ah, you just see the effect on it. Please note the last point. In mindfulness, one watches the universe within. The meditator who is developing mindfulness is not concerned with the external universe. It is there, but in meditation, one's field of study is one's own experience, one's thoughts, one's feelings, and one's perceptions. In meditation, one is one's own laboratory. That's he's talking about the type of meditation that we're talking about here. The universe within has an enormous fund of information containing the reflection of the external world and much more. An examination of this material leads to total freedom. Total freedom meaning, as Rabbi Kaplan says, it's like you want to be the master of your mind. You don't want your mind to be the master of you. Mindfulness is participatory observation. The meditator is both participant and observer at one and the same time. I am watching myself react to my thoughts. If one watches one's emotions or physical sensations, one is feeling them at the very same moment. That's me being hungry. That's me feeling sad. Mindfulness is not an intellectual awareness, it is just awareness. The mirror thought metaphor breaks down here. Mindfulness is objective, but it is not cold or unfeeling. It is the wakeful experience of life and alert participation in the ongoing process of living. You really get to feel what's going inside of you because you're not interfering with it with concepts or analysis or thinking. Ooh, I feel very sad right now. Mindfulness is extremely difficult to define in words, not because it is complex, but because it is too simple and open. The same problem crops up in every area of human experience. The most basic concept is always the most difficult to pin down. Look at a dictionary and you will see a clear example. Long words generally have concise definitions, but short basic words like the and be can have definitions a page long. And in physics, the most difficult functions to describe are the most basic, those that deal with the most fundamental realities of quantum mechanics, E equals mc squared, I guess. Mindfulness is a pre-symbolic function. You can play with word symbols all day long and you will never pin it down completely. We can never fully express what it is. However, we can say what it does. All right, we're training ourselves to not verbalize what we're experiencing internally. Okay, all right. So we'll continue next week, the 3 fundamental activities of mindfulness. Feel free to ask me questions, chat questions, or text questions, however you want to do it. This is new stuff, but it's really important. And the reason why it's really important is because it helps you understand yourself better and gain more control over your mind. And that's what Bhante says, and that's what Rabbi Kaplan says. Meditation is the skill of being able to control what's going on in your mind. So instead of that, we're going to meditate. Let's stop the share. Let's turn off the recording.